This is Art Crush with artist Fee Marks and artist Paula Telizyn, where we talk about what it means to be a professional artist. It's a great listen for anyone who's interested in art, art businesses, the art world, and creativity. So, Fee, this is going to be our second episode. We want to thank everybody again for taking the time to listen and also making Series 2 possible by listening. This is really exciting.
It is. I'm really excited to see where this goes. And as you say, thank you to everybody for their listening, and even more big thank you for sharing it amongst the artist community.
Oh, yeah, we definitely appreciate that. This this episode is going to be an interesting one because we are going to talk about should you make bread and butter art? So should you make art that's palatable for people to buy, or make art that you actually want to make? And I think that's a really important discussion because Fee and I have both been separately at tons of art shows, gallery openings, and various venues, and you see a lot of the same old, same old, same old. So why don't you kick us off, Fee?
Yeah, well, I find it really interesting. We are not firm believers of you have to have your art in a gallery in order for it to sell. That doesn't mean that I haven't had conversations with galleries, but in my experience, quite a few of the galleries that I have spoken to have said, oh, it's very different from what we have the rest of the art, as if that's a bad thing. Or, well, this was when I heard quite recently, well, we only actually show landscapes and animals. Now, again, we can easily throw up our hands and go, well, it's not the right place for us. But yeah, it's like that narrow expectation is just absolutely stultifying. It's like saying, right, this supermarket only sells cheese and apples. So you can't have anything else because that's what everybody likes. Everybody likes cheese and apples. There's no point in selling anything else because nobody likes it. I find it absolutely mind-boggling.
We end up in a society where we get the same stuff. So if we take the grocery analogy further, in Canadian grocery stores in 2025, we actually have in most stores a very limited range of produce available. You can buy apples, you can buy oranges, you can buy mangoes, you can buy avocados, and then carrots, onions, potatoes, and celery. And that's it. There's the odd thing here or there, but if you want to go and get anything other than the basics, you have to go to a specialty store, an Asian grocery store, European grocery store, or whatever, to get the other stuff. And people don't realize what they're missing if they don't go to the Asian grocery store. Because holy crap, there's so much produce there. There's so much choice and variety, and the price points are also very different as well, oftentimes significantly lower. But most people will just go to their local neighborhood store, buy their white bread, buy their apples, buy their cheese, and leave and never know what they are missing. And when we continue to perpetuate that idea of art is landscapes, art is portraits, art is abstract, here's some paint poured, or here's some things scratched into wood or whatever, then nobody will know what they're missing. They won't know what they're missing, and artists won't know. People who have been called to be creative stop being creative and actually just churn out what sells. And yes, we have to make a living. Unfortunately, we live in a society where universal basic income isn't a thing yet, but man, it would be great if it was. But there should still be room for creativity. There should still be room for art that challenges, art that makes you do some work to consume it, art that requires effort and attention. We can see this also in movies, all the sequels, the millions of sequels. Do I need another Ghostbusters? No. Do I need another Star Wars? No. As a former avid Star Wars fan, please stop with the frickin' Star Wars. Like it's just the same stuff over and over and over again. Artists should be different. Art should artists should be creating work that challenges. So I'm going to pull up your work specifically, Fee, as you sit here quietly listening to me. Blah, blah, blah. Your art is representational, but it is not like anything I've seen. And I've seen tens of thousands of artists worth of art over the years. And I've not seen anybody create in your style. I've not seen anybody create with the attention to detail. Your work on first glance looks, oh, what's that? It's okay. I wouldn't hang it in my living room. And then if the person actually stops and looks, they see all the detail you've put into it. They see all the story behind it. They understand what you are portraying. And then they look again and see more and look again and see more. That your work challenges people to stop and not just go, that's nice, scroll on. That's nice, scroll on. You actually have to stop and pay attention. Should artists, make art that's palatable for audiences? I'd say no. What's the point of being
I
an
mean, otherwise, it's all, I mean, it's, and if you go back to it is all the arts is all about communication. I believe passionately that you need to have a message, you need to have something to say, you need to your art to tell a story. It doesn't necessarily have to be easy. It's not, oh, yes, that's it. And I think it goes back to something we discussed before about the way that you look at art. It is not just a picture on a wall that blends in with your furniture. You can have that, but that's not telling you the story, and it's like, you've got to listen, and it's like challenging yourself in conversations with people. If we all just made small talk all the time, we'd all go a little bit crazy. We want interesting conversations. We want to watch interesting things on the television, be they fiction or non-fiction. We want interesting books. It's a human instinct to want to be challenged, but we're being told, maybe again, this could be by the powers that be, that we shouldn't be doing that. We just need to listen and follow instructions. That's
Mhm.
not right. That's not what being a human is all about.
No, I think if I bring my inner nerd out even more, we are designed to boldly go. If we weren't, we wouldn't have explored outside of the continents where our species emerged, or the various other human species emerged as well. We would have stayed in Africa and Asia and just been happily doing whatever our primate ancestors did. So we are designed to be curious, to want to satiate our desire to know more, to stretch. We do better when we are challenged. And I think that yes, there's a place for landscapes, but there's a place, an even more important place for people who are doing new things. Yeah.
Oh, the times, if I'm doing a show, the times I hear people go, oh, that's a bit different. Oh, I haven't seen anything like that before. And I just go up with a big grin and go, exactly. And you won't. There is nobody that, as far as I am concerned, no, that paints like me. And even though when people desperately try and put me in a pigeonhole, I mean, as you know, the amount of times I say, "Oh, it reminds me of Klimt," and I'm like, what? It's got a woman in it, maybe. It's got a bit of gold in it. It's got pattern, but not in the same way. It's almost like people want to compare you to other artists or other people. And it's like, no, this is a Fee Marks originally. I love Gustav Klimt. I love his work, but that doesn't mean that I am replicating his style. But
Mhm.
people almost like they think they're being really clever to say that. Honestly, I have to sort of smile and go, yes, I've heard that before. But it's like, it baffles me that people think that I've actually sat there and gone, I'm going to paint like Klimt.
Yeah.
No artist, no creative person would ever do that.
No, exactly, exactly. But it's a lazy way of looking at things, right? Because our brains try to be so efficient that if we can go, okay, you're like Klimt, now I can understand you. I don't have to take a second, third, and fourth look,
Mm.
then it's easier for them. But we're saying that as artists, I think it's our job to be challenging. I think it's our job to make people uncomfortable in some way. And discomfort doesn't have to be through being offensive
Oh
or
gosh, no,
yeah.
no.
Discomfort can come from making somebody stop and understand that they need to take a second or third look, that
Mm.
they can't see it all. That
I think challenging, we want to challenge people rather than make them feel discomfort. Obviously, some subject areas might, but yeah, I think it's about that element of challenging, challenging what you thought. And also, I hadn't realised how few people do figurative art these days.
Mhm.
No, like I was doing an exhibition with a group of other artists, and I was the only person doing figurative art. And I thought, is this a trend? Is this that people don't? When has portraiture and figurative art suddenly taken a back seat to abstract animals and landscapes?
Yeah. Well, having done landscapes before and lots of animal portraits, I can tell you that figurative art is more challenging,
Mm.
right? It's requires more time and effort in to get really, really good at it. And I think we're in a time where we've been trained to not have as much attention and to not work for the longer outcome. And I'm not talking the 10,000 hours bullshit to be a professional or whatever that you have to do to in order to be an expert, 10,000 hours of learning or whatever. But you do need to put more effort into creating figurative art. You know, the works that you've done over the last, how long has it been, 6 or 7 years since
Yeah.
you started? Your style has changed. It's become
Mm.
more complicated. It's become more intricate and more involved as you've learned, but you started with figurative right from the get-go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it never even occurred to me. And it's quite interesting because, as you know, Paula, I do workshops and I work with young people. And so I do sometimes do like animal art with them or whatever. Interestingly, I mean, I say I could take this very personally, but when I post on social media a picture of a hare or whatever, suddenly I get an awful lot of people going, "Oh, I love this. I love this." So I could think, you know what? I'm going to stop doing my women. I'm going to stop telling these women's stories. I'm going to just paint hares. That's all I'm going to paint because that's going to sell. And it's like, no, I don't want to do that. This is what is the essence of my work, is that these stories need to be told and these women deserve to be seen and heard. I don't feel the same about painting a hare, and that's no disrespect to any artist out there who does paint animals. You've got your own stories to tell, but it's just not what I do. But it's become so acceptable. I mean, even when people are starting out, the amount of time, virtually every artist has been asked, "Oh, do you do pet portraits?
Oh
Could
my
you
God.
do a picture of my dog? Could you do a picture of my cat?" And some artists will go, "Yeah, I can do that." It takes quite a get to actually turn down work and go, "No, that's not what I do."
Yeah. I know I've been asked to do a range of things. Now I love the pet portraits. For me, it was never my focus, but it was something I did a lot of commissions for because they're one step away from portraits, and that was my focus until I
Mm.
got bored of doing portraits. Once I mastered it, it was kind of like, okay, same formula over and over again to achieve the outcome, and I lost interest in it. But I think this sort of goes to a larger issue of, as artists, are we doing things because they're socially acceptable, because they garner support and, I don't know, a lack of judgment? So we're doing the safe route because your neighbor and the grocer down the street and all that, they will totally understand your work. Therefore, I will be seen as a valid artist rather than I'm doing something different. Now, imagine how challenging it was for people. I mean, we can go right back to Van Gogh, but any of the artists who started doing surreal work or who started doing any of the abstract work or who, like Mondrian, did the different pieces, they challenged what was acceptable. I know there are a lot of women in that. My art history was very male oriented, so I'm going to apologize to the listeners right now and just say that I recognize that all the names I've pulled are male, and I need to rectify my art history knowledge a lot. But as artists, I think we should be challenging also our desire for acceptance and our need to be seen as creating actually good art. Like there's a joke I remember, and I don't remember if it was from a TV show or a movie or whatever, but there's this artist who was creating all these crazy, amazing, colorful pieces. And then one day he went out and painted the neighbor's dog or whatever. And the neighbor was like, "Oh, finally, he's actually getting good at art." You know, like it's, yeah.
And another thing, Paula, which I'm interested in what you have to say on this, which is still on topic. I have come across artists who almost have two businesses.
Hmm.
They will do the art that makes that they're passionate about, that makes them tick, and then they will do art that they deem will sell.
Bread and
So
butter.
two very, very different styles, but it's two businesses. Now, to me, I couldn't do that personally, but what would you advise an artist who was thinking of setting up a side hustle as such of the art that they deem and they think that society wants?
That, see, I did that because I did do the pet portraits and I did the commission portraits and things like that. I set them up as commissions. So I didn't actually create, if somebody liked my style of what I was actually making, they could order a commission of whatever they wanted. I could still say no to the commission, but they could order whatever they wanted. It would be done in my style. And that's how I did it. Commissions ended up being a significant source of income for me because people wanted what they wanted, but done in a way that I did it. So my styles weren't different, but the subjects were very different. When it comes to something that's radically different, so let's say you do paintings of toast for your bread and butter. I think I'm hungry. And I don't know, abstract sculptures that, are what you actually want to do. It's challenging, but I wouldn't separate them out. I really wouldn't. But I would make one 80% of my marketing and one 20%. So that when somebody comes to your page or your site or whatever, they know exactly what they're looking at. So if your bread and butter, your paintings of toast sell really, really well, then that would be what they get most of. And
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's like I do commissions and I do portraits of people in my style and using the similar techniques that I use in my portraits of the women because it's about a story being told. It's about your story being told. That I'm more than happy to do. But like say, if someone said, "Oh, even in my style," if they said, "Oh, would you do a picture of a painting of my house?"
yeah,
I would be like, well,
no.
I don't think so, because that's not my thing. But, I could point you in the direction of somebody who will paint your house or paint your iguana or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we have to make a living. Let's be real about that. So if you have something that sells and it doesn't float your boat or whatever, figure out how to live with it or figure out how to make people like what you do. So I follow this artist on TikTok. He paints 1 square foot of his flat, and it takes him like every day he paints a different square foot of his flat. And if you had asked any of his buyers a year before they bought from him, "Oh, you're going to buy a partial painting of a radiator of some random guy's flat in London or wherever he's at, and love it," people would have been like, "No, that's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Part of a radiator, a bit of shoe? Like, why would I buy a painting like that?" And he has just relentlessly every day post on TikTok his current painting, whatever he's working on, and then he fits it into the rest of the pieces. So you can see his flat come together in these very disjointed, very interesting studies of his daily life in his whatever teeny tiny little flat. Then he does great big gallery shows. But he taught people to value what it was he was passionate about. And he's passionate about painting the crumbs on his counter or his kettle boiling or the coat hanging on the back of his door and how it's moved since the day previous and it sinks 6 inches down or whatever. Like he's taught people to love and respect that by being relentless about making people see his work. And he's got great big shows, and his work is selling for good money, so he's done a good job. So why have a side
Because
hustle?
it exactly, and because what he's doing is exactly what we were talking about earlier. He is challenging the viewer to look at what could be, or described as the mundane, the day to day, but to look at it in a different way and to see the beauty in it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And how we interact with our environments, and they change through those interactions every single day. So yeah, you there are ways to bring your disparate parts of your business together, because I'm never a fan of a side hustle in an art business. We're already divided between creating and selling. So that if you have to create two different things and sell them to two different groups, you are creating more work for yourself. Figure out
And
how
you're
to make
diluting your
yeah,
message and your core, really.
exactly. We have also only so much energy. So if I pull out the spoon analogy again, because I'm feeling it this week after a heavy promotion week last week for my own businesses, you only have 12 spoons a day of things you can do, right? It's a finite amount. So if you are spending six of those spoons making art and three of those spoons existing, then you've got three spoons left to market. Now, what are you going to use them for? How are you going to get people? Which art business are you going to be marketing with those three tiny little limited spoons, right? Pay attention to dividing your energy too much, and pay attention to doing what you love. We have one short life. I don't know how it is I'm over 50. I have no idea. It was an accident. I blinked and there we go. And we have one short life. And when you hit a certain stage in life, you sort of look around and go, I think I might have, I don't know, 20 or 30 good years left. And you know from experience, those aren't going to last very long. And if you're busy doing things to please other people, then what's the point of you, especially as an artist? What's the point? Right? We're here to create, we're here to be creative, we're here to put our work out in the world, to communicate, to connect, to challenge, and to do a whole bunch of stuff. And if you're busy making same old, as most artists do, then what's the point? What's the actual?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It is. I mean, and that's the thing. We are all different, and I just want to say, because this is true. This podcast, we haven't got answers. We are
No.
only expressing our views. We are discussing these things to help you, to help everybody think about where they are in this process. So we're not saying you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way, because we're not. We are just putting. We are challenging the listener to think and value what they're doing. So, I just want to clarify that again, that that's what we're doing here, and we're hoping that it is making people think and delve a bit deeper into the art world.
I agree. Actually, that's a really good disclaimer to put on this too, because I tend to talk in definites, and the beauty about being human and being alive is our diversity. And I'm not just talking about racial or cultural diversity. I'm also talking about our diversity in our points of view, our diversity in how we approach our lives and how we approach our art and everything else. What is right for me may not be right for you. And the same thing with Fee. I'll tell Fee to do stuff till I'm blue in the face, but she'll only do what's right for her. And that's perfectly fine. And we're still friends in spite of that. Because she doesn't do what I tell her. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, we are allowed and supposed to have our diversity of opinion and experience. And in our podcast series, we're on episode 2 now, but in our podcast series, we want you to deconstruct what isn't working and chuck away the rest. I'm not going to be offended if you don't do what I say. Do what you want. It's your life. I don't have to live it. So, yeah, but just take these ideas and see what's worthy of deconstructing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
And I think that brings us to the end of episode 2, which is, should you change your art so that it sells more? Should you have bread and butter art? Should you make art that is challenging or interesting or creates discomfort? What does all that mean? If this has resonated with you, feel free to leave comments because we do see the comments below the podcast. Feel free to share this with friends, have a discussion. Nobody is right, nobody is wrong. We're just,
And who knows, we could even spark another episode. And
yeah,
as I said, as far as we're concerned, art is about telling a story, having a point of view. And there are plenty of artists who do paint animals and landscapes
yeah.
who have exactly that. And we love them. We love all those paintings too.
Exactly, exactly. And I've loved doing those paintings for myself for my clients. So there we go. All right. So this is Art Crush with Fee Marks and Paula Telizyn. Stay tuned for further episodes. Follow us on your favorite podcast provider or on Spotify and keep listening.